Alrighty, so I think I should get this started. A little heads up. Sorry about the scuff sound and clicking and all of that. Just getting new to the streaming and possible like YouTubing. Give a little intro for myself. Been playing PoE for I think it's been I want to say it's probably been close to like 10,000, 12,000 hours. I've been essentially playing PoE 1 since beta. Figured I'd share my knowledge. PoE 2 just came out, so figured I'd share some of my knowledge carrying over into this game to try to explain some things and go over builds. It's probably one of my favorite games. And love the company and what they do. But with all that out of the way, I guess I'll get right into it. So this is my build for Infernalist Witch. It's pure minions. It's one of my favorite ways to play. It's been, I want to say it was a little rough getting it off the ground, especially coming into a new game without knowing like what the build tree for and everything. And I'll go over my gear last, only because that's probably like the worst part of the build right now, because still trying to get upgrades and whatnot. But I'll get right into the skills. So first off, we have Skeleton Warrior. This skill is being granted by my weapon. For those that are new, Skeleton Warrior, the slots for weapons actually scale with the level of that weapon. So since this is a level 11, it gives me 3 sockets. So you can't use a jeweler's orb to get extra sockets on this. These minions are just applying a bleed, so they're pure physical. So they apply my bleed, and I'll get into like all the ailments and everything that my minions give. The Summon Infernal Hound is from the Ascendancy. It's one of the first 2 points you can get. He is he just does an AoE fire damage. So for those who play PoE 1, same thing as the Guardian minion that you get for a Templar. He just does essentially RF around him. He burns and is based off of his health, which I believe is 20% of his health. Yes, 20% of his maximum health. Right now he's sitting at 5687. I do not have meat shield on him to give him more health as a support, mainly because it seemed like his damage was lower with meat shield, which I believe I have one. Or I don't have one. I think I put it on my other character, but look at the support. Go here. Or beat shield right here. So first line on the minions from supported skills deal 35% less damage. It may not be the case with this minion. It just felt like it actually did less damage, even though it got more health. So I just took it off and mainly focused on getting fire penetration, more damage, just so his AoE just does more damage. This felt better. The Colon Strike is a very good needed thing. You don't really see it against the normal enemies when I run through a map, but you do see it against the rares and uniques. It's a nice little help. I couldn't figure out what to put in this 4 socket now. The next one up is Skeleton Brute. This minion, he's just a hard hitter. He's not there for like speed, but one of the supports that I gave him was the Impact Shockwave. So whenever you heavy stun an enemy, so that little bar that you might see above and underneath the enemy's health bar, that yellow bar that'll slowly go up is their stun threshold. Once it gets to the halfway point, then he can perform a heavy stun, which causes an AoE attack, which does a decent amount of damage. So if we go, not bone breaker. So his basic attack is at 1200 for DPS. And you can see his damage here, and I can see I don't think I can see it. But essentially, all I have is for him to build up stun threshold, and then also for their fully broken armor. So you might see another stat underneath the enemy's health bar that's just counting up, and he will take that damage and do more damage once their armor is broken, which is pretty nice. It's a nice little hard hit that you get every once in a while. And also a daze build up. So then our next thing is, I'll go through all the minions and I'll go through the debuff. So our next minion is the Reavers. The Reavers are these guys right here. They're the two-handed axe wielders. And they're there for speed, and they have a small buff, so they have an active called Enrage. So when you enrage them, they get a nice healthy bonus to their attack damage and attack speed. It does say they lose life over time, but you'll never see that. They also gain rage, which is pretty nice. For these guys, I just have them on poison, so they're just applying poison. So I just gave them attack speed, chance to poison, and they break armor based off of the poison, so they help break armor. You can really see that against bosses, and now the campaign bosses just show it off. The next minions are the Frost Maze minions, and these guys are here just to freeze. That's the only reason why I have them. So they shoot 2 additional projectiles. Even though this does less damage, you also got to keep in mind that they're shooting 2 of the same projectiles. So if they were to go off their ice shard damage, think of this as 2 times. Obviously, if we take it off, the damage is going to be a lot higher. And they can shotgun, so if they're close enough to an enemy, the projectiles don't shoot too far away from each other. So they'll easily shotgun an enemy. We just do the freeze build out, and this actually works out amazingly well, because if I take this off, they still have 100% on their ice shard, but they almost freeze. Almost every normal enemy is frozen instantly, which is really nice. And they also give an active called Ice Bomb, and we come over here to Ice Bomb. This also gives a chill, so as you cast it like that, it hits the ground, does an AoE, and it freezes and chills everyone around them. And I'll go into why that's a really good support after I talk about the interactions between the minions. The Skeleton Storm minion just does arc. So they shoot out a lightning projectile, it hits an enemy, and it changes between different enemies. They're here just to apply shocks. They do a decent amount of damage, but the main thing that I want them to do is shocks. This I could probably take off. I don't know why I have this on here. I do need to take that off and switch it out. But they do more damage with hits and ailments. I'm not building in the crit for minions, so them not being able to crit doesn't really matter. And then their shocks also spread. So you apply a shock, the enemies take 20% more damage. Really nice for that. And then the bread and butter is the skeleton clerics. These guys will help keep your minions alive. They also resurrect your minions when they die. And I can demonstrate that by bone offer. As soon as this bone offering goes away, my cleric should just spawn them back. Yep, my cleric just spawned them back, even though I got a timer going. It already spawned the minion back. So if you're going to do minions, I highly recommend at least getting 1 skeletal cleric, because these guys will 100% keep all your minions alive. And for their support, just have +1 to their minion skills, because they also do a healing. So it's nice to have them at a high level because they'll heal all your minions at the same time. So it keeps them alive, give them more cast speed, and then the cooldown recovery for when they need to res your minions. So when you're resurrecting the minions, if you got a bunch of them go down, your skeleton cleric can do it a little bit more often. And then for buffing them for boss fights is Pain Offering. So what this does, it sacrifices one of your minions. As long as this is up, it gives your minions more damage, attack, and cast speed. And this is really noticeable when you're fighting rares or bosses. Like, they get a huge amount of damage from this. And I believe it does show it. Might not a complete amount of damage. But for the supports, I got Fauna Blood. So getting back life for just having it up. And this also works on me as well. So if I have this up, I get 2% of my life back, as well as my minions. This one I put the meat shield on because the Pain Offering doesn't do damage, but it does get the health bonus. And these things have very little health compared to the rest of your minions. So it's 18, 16 for your life. But they are considered minions. So the Pain Offering is considered a minion, so it'll scale off of all your other minion nodes. And then this one is just to increase the effect of the offering. And I don't believe it's not going to show it here for the extra 42%. So they're actually getting a lot more. And when I do use this, it does take away my 15% of my life, but not that it's not that noticeable. Now for debuffs. So the main one is Contagion. I'm mainly using Contagion because it spreads every time an enemy dies, and it spreads all chaos damage over time debuffs. They just recently put out a patch where poison actually spreads with the Contagion. I didn't notice that it wasn't a thing until today. I just ran a map earlier to test it out. You can see the difference, but it spreads all your chaos debuffs. So since I have my Skeleton Reavers applying a poison, that poison is now being spread by Contagion. Also this one of my favorite supports for this is the Chaotic Freeze. So all chaos damage contributes to the freeze buildup for hits. On the tree, I took a node where my minions have added Fizz as chaos, and that helps the freeze build up. So all my minions have a chance to freeze. It's not just the one, just not the Skeletal Reavers that are contributing to the freeze build up. And then also Hinder. This one I think I might switch out for something else because it doesn't really seem that effective. I might be doing something wrong, but it's what Hinder does, it just slows their action speed. Doesn't seem like it's all that great. And then the next debuff is Vulnerability. And this one, it just causes the enemies to have their armor ignored, which is a nice little debuff to throw on just a pack. And for this one, I have Decaying Hex. It just does chaos damage. So this also works off of Contagion, which is pretty nice. And then Hex Bloom. So whenever the cursed enemy dies, they just keep spreading it. So I could drop Vulnerability and Contagion on the same pack, and it'll just spread between all of them as they die. And then the last skill that I have is Grim Feast. It's an aura skill. So when enemies die, or if any of the reviving minions, so that goes for any of the skeletal minions. Yeah, the skeletal minions and the Infernal Dog. Whenever they die, there's a chance that they'll drop a little shard on the ground. It'll be like a glowing like ghost shard that'll land on the ground. And then when you pick it up, it gives you 177 energy shield back, which is really nice. And if you haven't noticed, that you can overcap your energy shield. So if you pick up enough of this, you can actually get 2 times of whatever your energy shield is. So usually when I'm in the map, I'm sitting at 1700 energy shield, and it also just instantly refills it. Next, I will get into my passive tree and why I've chosen the certain passives. So right now, I just mainly focused on minions. I have very little defenses for energy shield, but it's a main focus on just my minions. The issue I ran into early on was that my minions would die fairly quickly, and I was trying to treat this as like a PoE1 where I could just go more so on minion damage versus the life, and it felt terrible, especially when it came to bosses and the bosses would just one shot my minions. It didn't feel good. So as I was progressing, respec my tree a couple times, but the one node that I thought helped me out the most was this node, Vowel Mending. Gives your minions 20% increased maximum life, regenerates 3% of their life per second, and give them 13% chaos resistance. It was almost a godsend to have this because you will see the 3% life regen very early on, and it saves your minions from dying and having to respawn. The next thing I had to grab was accuracy. As I was getting, wasn't really necessary on the early acts, but when I got to Cruel, you can really see it falling off where the damage just wasn't there. I need to get some accuracy on my minions just so they can actually hit. Then I pathed up top to pick up these nodes. Wanted to get the reduced reservation just so I can summon up more minions. Get some more resistances for them, so the physical damage reduction and the chaos resistance, and also their chance to inflict wither. These nodes right here, I wouldn't recommend to grab until you hit like maps, only because you don't really need wither. Because it's not really, you don't really need it for the campaign. Is you'll run through most of the things where you can use 4 nodes somewhere else. And the reason why I get wither is because of this node right here, where I have 8% of their fizz as chaos damage. The next path I went is down here. Pick up the big minion damage nodes. You get 25% there, 10% there, 10, and 10. And then up here for more elemental resistance, so they don't die to like burning ground or they get hit with some kind of fire. Path down here, picking up more elemental resistance, going around, get the revive. The revive isn't really needed if you have a cleric, but if your cleric dies and you don't have any of the revive nodes, it's about 8 seconds before your minions revive, and it can really put you in a bind if you need them alive just so they can kill things. And then also area effect and cooldown recovery rate. The area effect I don't really need, but it's mainly the cooldown recovery rate that helps out your minions do their skills more often. Then come down here and get some more life. I initially, during the campaign, came up here and grabbed this, the 15% increase faster, and also grabbed the life nodes off here to the side. I unspec'd them once I got to maps because I didn't feel like I needed them. My minions were staying alive long enough that I didn't really need them, and if they were going to die, they were going to die regardless if I had these nodes or not. So I just got rid of those nodes and used them to spec further into more damage. These nodes right here for your offering, if you don't get any offering life, your offerings are going to feel terrible because they're going to get one shot just by white mobs, and it's not going to feel good. So I got this. They get 30% maximum life, and you also recover 3% of your life when you make one. And then also this, the increased duration, so they had to buff up longer. picked up a few energy shield nodes only because of Grim Feast, and I also get +1 to maximum elemental resistances. For the Infernal Witch, my first 2 points was spent on the Loyal Hellhound. Then I moved over this way to take the Altar Flesh. And this way, I could just kind of more so spec into fire resistance versus having the other resistances, so was able to get that. And then that also leads me over to the +1 maximum spirit per 25 life. And I'll get into how I got so much spirit once I get into the gear. But this is a great node. It gave me about 100-ish plus spirit, so I was able to summon a couple more minions. And then the rest of my goals is just going to be picking up some extra damage, and I may go for some more elemental resistance on a tree. And I can't think of where they're at right now. I'm still trying to learn the layout of the tree. But anyway, as you can see, I'm still missing some jewels. This jewel is just something for the curse duration I was really looking for, and then the minion accuracy was a nice touch. But I'm still looking for other nodes or other jewels to slot into these other jewel sockets. But I haven't really came across too many jewels, and the ones I did come across didn't really help my build. The last thing I'll get into is my armor, and then I'll go into the pros and cons of this build, of some of the things I've just noticed. So I'll start off with the weapon. You could definitely use an upgrade. I've had this weapon since, I want to say probably like Act 1 Cruel or something like that. This could definitely be an upgrade. You can get up to +4 to all skills on a weapon, and that's what I'm currently looking for. And probably increase damage. Now, the one thing I will say about this, the allies in your present does not work on your personal character. It works on everybody else, not you. Don't know if that's an oversight or if it's intended that way, but it just doesn't work on you, which is kind of sad, but it's whatever. It's mainly for my minions. I just want them to have damage. The +2 all minion skills is amazing. One of the things I will say about the +2 skills is that a lot of people will shoot for the plus to all skills. So like if they see a +2, they'll pass over everything else. One thing I did notice is that a +1 with increased damage, I would say at least like 50% is better than a +2 without increased damage. So if I was to find like a +1 with like 87% increased damage would be a better scepter to have than just the +2 minion skills. For my helmet, just grab this helmet. It has life and intelligence, cold, lightning rest. Also the energy shield, which is pretty nice. I found this as a drop in one of the maps. Just socketed in a cold resistance, just to try to cap out my resistances themselves. So the only thing that's not truly capped is my lightning and chaos. Lightning can go up 1 more %, but I'm not that really worried about it. I could probably get it once I change out my rings. I bought this amulet. I want to say got it for like 5 exalts or something like that. But just gives me life plus to all minion skills. I have not looked up to see if I can get +2, but you get the +1. For this build, you do need a combination of strength, dex, and intelligence. Mainly intelligence, but if you're going to run the bleed and the extra melee damage for your skeleton minions, you're definitely going to need strength. For the shield, it's spell damage. I don't really need it, but I got it for the intelligence and the resistances. So this one is I'm going to change out. A lot of my build can use upgrades, especially the focus. I would rather have more energy shield, probably some intelligence, and just resistances and life if I can get it. For my chest piece, I actually came across this one as well in a map. Just energy shield, life, spirit, and fire resistances. For people that don't know, spirit you can roll on any chess piece. So if you just need the extra spirit to run a or something like that, spirit is your or chess piece is probably your best option and easiest way to get the spirit. Rings, it's an unset ring, and it just gives a one extra skill, which I'm not even utilizing. I can switch this out. I had it in here because I had a different setup initially where I needed the extra slot. This ring I just picked up during the campaign. It just has some resistances during the campaign, but this could be switched out as well. It just gives me the 20 to all resistances, which really helped out. For my belt, just life, lightning resistances. Do want to get a new one of these. I think I'm kind of looking for a utility belt, which will allow my flask to apply the it'll apply I think up to 20% instantly, and then I can upgrade my flask to give more life recovery and do it that way. Gloves is just life, dexterity. Mainly the dexterity for running some of the skills. I didn't have the dexterity to keep all the supports in. And then boots. Movement speed was my main concern. So I got movement speed, got the resistances. Trying to find one on the marketplace were just way too expensive for 30%. I just happened to come across this one. It worked out. I believe I have my previous boots in here. So this was my previous boot. Just 20% movement speed, some life, resistances, rarity. I found it better just to drop this for the movement speed. I prefer the movement speed. If I get cornered, I'm gonna die anyway, so I'd rather just have the movement speed. Nothing too special about the charm. Just a rarity charm. It felt a lot better for drops and maps when killing the rares. Now I believe it applies the instant you kill them and when they drop, but I can't confirm that. Other than that, I guess I can get into pros and cons of the build. Pros, obviously it's a minion build. You can just go fight a boss. You can just run around in circles. You don't have to really do much to against the bosses because they can't really do anything to you as you're running around the circles. It made the Sanctum runs for your Ascendancy, and I believe I have a coin. You come across these. The Sanctum runs are extremely easy with minions. Obviously, I could just send my minions out. They don't take damage to the honor, so I can just focus on just dodging things, and my minions do all the work for me. For after, I want to say like halfway through Act 3, the minions felt a lot better. So run through the campaign, I could just run through, didn't really have to worry about much. Gear wasn't that much of an issue. I could just focus on defenses. Once I got a scepter with just plus 2 minions, that's all I really needed, and the minions just felt great. They would do all the damage for me. I think that's pretty much it for the pros. Like, it's still a minion build. It feels great. Can't complain too much about it when you're not really doing much. Damage seems okay. It's not as much as like the warriors that are two-handing that are dual wielding two-handers and two-shotting bosses, but the bosses do go down pretty quickly. I've done a couple for the Atlas. It was pretty easy. For my cons, early minions feel not in the best place. I don't want to say they're terrible, they just don't feel in the best place, and it's mainly because when you get to a boss fight, they die, and you have to wait for them to revive, and that's your only source of damage. while if you're going to do a pure minion build, it kind of feels rough. And I'm trying to see if I have a level. Okay. So if you do a pure minion, skeletal snipers are good. The issue is you run into when you get to bosses, there's not much you can do with the other skills. So like unearth requires corpses. In a boss fight, corpses don't spawn. There's no ads that spawn. There's no way to have a corpse in the middle of a boss fight, which makes it feel terrible. Pain offering, you have to sacrifice a minion, and you won't have the levels to get the revive nodes on a tree for the minions to come back faster. And cleric is one of your final skills. And my only adjustment for that, or my suggestion for that one for GGG would be to allow one of your spirit films to be unlocked sooner. This skill, sacrifice. This skill is at the higher tier. It's a tier 14 skill. It allows you to use your minions as corpses, which can make the boss fight slightly easier. I don't know why it's this far down a tree. I feel like these two should be swapped. Grim Feast and Sacrifice should be swapped. Grim Feast you don't really need early on because you're not going to get a lot of energy shield. It's not going to really keep you alive, but Sacrifice will help you with the boss fights. And going back into the skills, you do get raised zombie, but it's not PoE 1 raised zombies. You need a corpse to summon them, or you need power charges. And the way to get power charges is it needs to be able to absorb a corpse. Is you need this skill, Profane Ritual, which requires a corpse, which you don't have access to. That's my biggest gripe with the minions, is that early on there's no way to help revive them, and I wish they hopefully implement a way, either shorten their respawn time, or I don't know, give a skill to one of your scepters that allow you to revive your minions, or add a mod to a weapon that allows you to revive them faster. Other complaint I have is the move skill, or the move minion bind. So it's a key bind that you can do to move your minions. The issue with this is that if you're in a map and the mobs aren't attacking your minions, they're coming after you, and you go to click them, so you're moving, you go to click them. If you miss that click, then your minions will run to that spot and just stand there. They won't attack, they won't do anything for a couple seconds, and then they'll go back to targeting whatever they wanted to target. And I don't know if their targeting AI needs to be shortened, so they'll just go instantly back, but they run into that issue. Another issue I had was in the confined spaces, so like the crypt area or like small corridors, the minions AI will just get stuck, and they won't run through a door, or they'll just get stuck. And the same thing happens with the enemy AI, where they'll just get stuck. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's collision, because I think they have collision with each other, but you don't have collision with them. So let's say one of my melee minions or one of my caster minions is standing in a doorway, my melee minions can't get by, and they'll just stand there. So you'll be running, and your minions will just stand still, and when you get too far away from your minions, they die, and then you have to wait for a respawn timer. And it was early access, so they'll probably look into it and maybe fix it. But other than that, I do think their health is a little too low in the early game, because they can't even survive normal mobs, and they die a little too quickly. But also, I'm hoping that there will be a new ascendancy that'll focus mainly on minions, like a necromancer ascendancy, that allow you to get a little bit more damage earlier on. But for the most part, that's my build. I'll take it into a map, and we'll just do a campaign map to show a boss fight. I haven't. You could do the. I don't want to show any spoilers. You know what? We're on a map. It'll probably be the best way to do it. I don't want to show spoilers for the campaign if anybody's not fully through it. Just run a map. Another good thing is that you can pretty much run any map mod. Elemental weakness isn't that bad since you're just running around dodging things. I may die. Here is that. My character is not that tanky. I don't have a shield that I can put up or block too much damage. Just throw it in, see how it goes. Well, as you can see, they'll just run through. They'll just down. They'll run through, do all their damage. So like every once in a while, I could just drop an ice bomb to chill enemies or to freeze them. Your AI for targeting feels great. It's just that one little nuance that I have where it's where they get stuck. As you can see, for the most part, I can just walk through the mobs. They'll hit me every once in a while. I could take a hit, only because my energy shield will protect most like single hits. And these little ghost flames is from Grim Feast, so when I pick it up, it increases my energy shield. I'm trying to find a rare mob to really show off what the minions can do. So here's an instance of where they get stuck. So you got two melee minions up here. The rest of them can't come close. And then you run into this issue where they just get stuck. Their AI won't allow them to run forward. I can sometimes kind of get them to come through if I tell them to move somewhere, but I don't feel like that should be a thing. Like that's a bug. And then this is the issue I was having. If you move them, they just stand there for a little while, and then they go back to attacking. And sorry to those who watched it this long and realized that it's not to the like best quality. I'm not at that point yet or where I can make like super quality videos, but I figured I should just show off my minion build. So proud of it. Got me through the campaign. I've been slowly improving it. Right there, I just threw on vulnerability. Only hit those mobs, but that's a rare. Just 100% frozen the whole entire time. I just saw another rare. You have to. We got another. All right, so we have another rare up here. So if you look at them, throw on Contagion, they just melt. They'll get frozen, shocked, and the bleed and the poison. All the ailments are getting applied to them. I guess this one of the main thing I love about this build is that I can apply every single ailment. I have not tested this in party play just yet. I do want to try it out, but my friends decided to switch over to hardcore for now. We'll like to see how this plays out in party play and if they're just as strong. That's two rares down there. So here's another rare. Just throw Contagion on. He instantly gets frozen. And all the minions still just pile in on him. So as you can see underneath their bar, every single ailment is applied to them. There's the map. Not going to run in, try to clear out everything else. Just wanted to show off the build. Alright, that is my very scuffed minion build. Feels stronger and stronger each day, so as I get upgrades. Pretty much all I have for it. I don't want to really get into like different tips and tricks for the game and make this video a lot longer. Just wanted to show off the build, and if anybody has any questions, you can always catch me on Twitch at @the_emo_Dan. I'm always here, always available to ask questions. Don't have a set streaming time right now, but I am gonna post this on the forum, so if you have questions, you gotta head over there and look up my guide. And that's all I got for you.